everyone, to this episode of Your Freedom's Hub's Accelerating Financial Freedom. I'm your host, Jeff Cantor. I got a special guest here today, which we're going to introduce momentarily. We are sponsored by the Marketplace for Health, Wealth, and Freedom. We are also recording all of these for posterity, so you're certainly going to want to make a point of seeing them every week and want to be able to go and pick up on the episodes from the weeks in the past. We also have a fantastic sponsor we've discovered, and we're always looking for the most cutting edge, top of the market, best in show type stuff. The only actually functioning hemp product on the marketplace. It's totally bioactive, and they're offering our viewers a 15%, not 5, not 10, but 15% discount by using the Freedom Hub 7 link here. So you'll definitely want to take advantage of that. Now, today we've got Sam Piccione, and we're going to talk about him in a minute here. But first, let me just kind of show you where we archive and stuff. So that's the site link. When you click on the one that's in that video, it'll take you to this page. It's not fully updated. I have everything about Sam on here yet because we're going to have some other stuff and list our other channels at the bottom where these videos will appear. Here's the one where we've got set up currently where Sam's on here right this minute. So you'll see we've got a special page here all about, you know, if your money could talk and how you can get a debt analysis and all the rest of it. And lo and behold, we were promoting this event, and lo and behold, here we are. So we're going to definitely kick into it here today. So on that note, I'm going to shift the screen over to Sam. All right. So here, as you can see, Sam's been on this scene for just a couple of weeks. So he's going to really have the luxury that most of us don't have as we find out about this stuff as the years go by later in life. And, you know, by then it's a little too late. So you're then trying to tell your kids so they don't make all those same mistakes. Well, we've got the advantage of Sam's expertise right now, and it really almost doesn't matter where you are along life's path. You're spending too much money. You don't understand your money, and you don't know how to make your money work properly for yourself. You're too much a creature of habit. You're the kind of person that you look like you need a mortgage to me. You look like you need a car loan to me. So you're one of those type of people, or, you know, you're trying to pay one thing off or another. So you really, or you're going to different brokers and they're trying to make more investments, but still you don't understand how your money works, why I have all these debts, why I never seem to get ahead, and why classically I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have to belabor the point because you can see here that Sam's really had a chance to be through all the different aspects of money, from, you know, being at banks to mortgages to all the rest of it. And guess what? Finally, when he woke up enough to smell the coffee, he started the Debt Network Academy, which is where we are today. So Sam, I want to welcome you here today and help you regale us with some stuff we really didn't know about that we really should.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And thank all of you. This is pretty exciting. This is, I was on Wednesday nights when Jeff does the health aspect of the HWF organization. And I've been on for almost 12 weeks now, every Wednesday night. And the medical field and the professionals and the doctors, and it's just amazing the inside information you can get from true professionals that have a passion for what they do in life. And those of you who know me and are on the call, that's about where I am at my stage, living on Hilton Head Island, working out of my house, and pretty much trying to help as many people as I can convey the same 10 financial myths that I missed during the last 40 some odd years, and flipping houses and not trying to understand, never sell a house. We owned condos back in the late 70s and 80s. My wife and I, we paid $42,000 for a condo, flipped it in 2 years, got $58,000 back, and I thought I was a hero. Problem was, today it's worth $410,000. All I had to do was rent it and keep growing it, and you'll see that in one of my slides. So we're starting this series over the next every Thursday night, and for the next 4 Thursday nights, we're going to uncover to you various myths that we all think that we've been trained and conditioned to believe that may not be what you think they are. Absolutely. Some of you know my age, but don't say it. Some of you people on there are saying, yeah, should I wait till I'm 70 or 75, or should I try now? And we're in the status of finding out. We didn't have time. We had to try it out. And I have some people on the call that have decided to do it now, regardless of their age. So here we go. The problem today that we're discussing is mortgage amortization. I know that sounds pretty simple, but quite frankly, I was in the mortgage business for 5 years, 2003 to 2008. And, you know, it was just one after another, helping people get a loan. What do you need, et cetera, et cetera. No one really understood, including myself, what mortgage amortization is and why the banks love to refinance every 3 to 5, 7 years. Actually, I've got clients and family that say, oh, I want to refinance. I'm going to lower my rate. And so how do you really find out what the true math is to make a decision? Because the mortgage broker, the realtor, those type of professionals have a goal to sell you a product as opposed to teach you whether it's worth the value it is. So if you've ever closed a loan, and I know everyone on here has a loan or a mortgage, I should say, when you are at the closing table, there's a note that you signed, and there's an amortization schedule attached to it. And we're gonna get to the schedule real quick, but it's amazing. Nobody goes over it. I spent 5 years. I don't know how many mortgages. I had 55 brokers in 4 states. I have no idea how many we did. But we never talked about the amortization table, but it is part of the legal aspect of a mortgage, and it's attached to the note. So why is this pitched? I mean, especially today, the rates are down to 3%. I had a client today say, oh, I could get 2.25. You know, well, whatever. The banks can lower your payment by over $200 a month and save you thousands. And you've heard this over and over. Quicken Loans, it's on TV, radio. It's overwhelming. Well, I just got my loan 2 years ago. I'm going to refinance. And even though the rate is 4% or less, you pay most of the interest in amortized 30-year loans in the first 10 years. After 10 years, you start increasing your principal payments, which means your interest is getting less. But they love to do it in 3, 5, 7 years. They're taught how to trained how to do it, and they start all over again. But we never get to see the math, and that's basically what our free analysis is about, to help people understand that. So it took me 47 years till I finally realized that what I was doing was not the best thing possible. Flipping real estate, refinancing, buying newer, bigger homes. And finally, I realized that when I found this system for the third time, the first 2 times I didn't believe it. So the third time I finally said, I need to do this personally, and I need to help others get more knowledge. So let's take a quick look. This is just a sample in the free analysis. People just fill out a form. It's, you know, what your balance is. This is an actual client. And you can see here that the summary is 281,556. 4.96 is the average rate in time of all the debts because of the smaller amounts in the 18.99. Okay. And basically, there's 6 debts to pay off. And if you use the oddball snowball system, which I think most of you know who that person is, that personality TV person who doesn't have any licenses at all, but he's got a pitch. He calls it the snowball, and it does work. And I have to tell you, it's better than nothing. But those of you who are on the software, this is beyond a snowball system. So it's based on factorial math. You see here 6 debts. And so factorial math is something that I don't remember getting, let's just say, taught in high school or college. I mean, I took algebra and all the standard stuff, but I don't remember this. Well, factorial math is a multiplication that tells you if you have 6 debts or 6, it doesn't matter what it is, but 6, the number of 6, all right? In this case, we're using debts. And you have 720 different choices to get to 0. The snowball, if I can just go back real quick, the snowball says, well, stop using all your credit cards, don't go out for pizza, stay home, eat cereal, and start to pay off the 18.9 first. When you get that to 0, you go to the next one, which is the spouse card. And when that's 0, then you take the rest of the money you saved that you're not paying to the credit cards, and you send it to the 14.99. And eventually you'll get to the 6.25 and the 4.65 and the 4.5 mortgage. However, you're going to live like a hermit and you won't have a lifestyle. Well, that's not what we really want to do. So imagine this. If Snowball works so great, how come that with 6 debts, there are 720 different combinations, which one to pay, what date to pay, how much to pay above the minimum, including your mortgage, to get to 0 in the fastest time frame? 720 choices is a lot more difficult than using the snowball of the TV personality. And the reality is that changes. In other words, you might spend $1,000 on the credit card, and so every time we use it, it changes and it interacts. Well, let's move on. Let's look at this amortization table. This is the red, and this is the total amount of debt. Most of it's the mortgage. And this is the methodology if you use the bank by paying that $2,100 a month for the mortgage as well as the other payments. But this is in an amortized schedule. At the end of 5 years, you still owe $215,462. If you were using our software analysis, which, by the way, you can use it for 90 days, you don't have to buy it, and you can try it, you'll love it, as most of our clients do. And look at that in 5 years. So guess how much money, Jeff, guess how much money that person on the right there has to pay to all his debts on top of what the payments are? What do you think it might be?
They're not going to be very much. I'm cheating because I see it looks like it says $100
you see
a month.
Yeah, it's on the bottom. So I was just testing to see if anybody's really reading the screen. So the point I'm making is for $100 extra, or what we call discretion, applied to the software tells you when to move how much money, okay, and at what time. In other words, it may not be for 2 months. But the point I'm making is for $100 a month, knowing the software knows where to send it, they just eliminated in 5 years from $215 down to $179. That's just in 5 years. Now let's look at 10 years. Now, the reason I love the 10-year is for 2 reasons. This is when the banks and the mortgage brokers get hot on the trail for somebody that's been in the mortgage for 10 years and says, we need to refinance and get you back to a lower rate and save you a monthly payment. Well, obviously, you started with $281. You now can refinance $161, but the amortization starts all over again. And that's part of our course where we teach this and how it works and why you should be aware of it and how to do something about it. So in 10 years, there's only $41,000 left on all the debt and mostly the mortgage at this point. Now, it doesn't mean you have to put your credit cards in the drawer or cut them up. That's the worst thing you can do, because credit is given to those who know how to manage money. And how do they do that? They check your credit report. What's the first thing, Jeff? What's the first thing that that a mortgage broker says?
What's your credit score?
I need to pull your credit. Right. And I've got a realtor in Connecticut, and he's also a mortgage broker, and he tells me all the time, he goes, I got 2 people really ticked off at me because I pulled their credit. They gave me permission, but they said, no, I didn't. And they're mad at me, and I think I'm going to lose the loans. And so we don't need a person to pull credit. We don't pull credit, but we break down their analysis and show them where the underwriter, after 5 years running a mortgage division and having 2 processors in my office, I understand what the underwriters are looking for, and I can help them. This week, I helped 3 people move forward and trying to get ready to prepare for a mortgage. And so they filled out the form, and I'm working with them right now. So it's pretty interesting. So look at this to summarize. In the 11th year is their last year, and they now are accumulating money from the same payment they were paying the mortgage and the credit cards, but they can use the credit cards. The software is interactive, and you can use the card as many times as you want and just tell it what the balance is, and it adjusts it. But look at this. If he stays on the system in the 12th year, and there's still 18 years left, they have $21,000 saved, either in their bank, in an investment, a brokerage account, whatever they want. We don't try to dictate where to put the money. That's up to them. So imagine in just 20 years, they still owe the bank $92,000, and if they just used the system and followed it, they'd have $291,000. And by the way, that's at a 1% interest rate. And we have companies right now doing 3 and 4% interest rates. This is at 1%. Okay, so let's move on.
Wait 1 second before you move on, Sam. Back up for 1 second to that slide.
Sure. Go right ahead, Jeff.
Because realistically, what you're sort of saying there, for those that don't really pick up on it, both columns is an equal reality. It's like pick one, you go on column A or column B, whichever one you choose. But in both instances, you're not really changing your budget. I still make the same money. I still go out to dinner, and I still kind of do everything the same, but yet look at the difference of what happens to me when it comes to my financial world.
Right, exactly. Great point. It's exactly correct. Okay, so this is a very difficult screen for me, because in 1978 to 1982, we owned 3 different condominiums, and we flipped them like stock. I was in the stock business. And so I said, wow, I put up $5,000, and in 2 years, I got $18,000 back in cash. How do I do that again? And so the realtor, who I still know today, he said, well, I got another one coming up, and it's ground floor. It's a new development, blah, blah, blah. We bought it, and we flipped that one for about $20,000, and I kept flipping. And I said, yeah, this is better than stocks. However, if I would have kept just those 3 condos on Hilton Head right now together, and I looked them up just last week, together they're worth $930,000. And I would have had no mortgage, or I would have refinanced, or I would have taken equity lines, because the rental would have paid the mortgage, and the spread, as we call it. In other words, if the payment is $1,200 and I'm getting $1,800 or $1,600 rental, I have the spread, and the software is actually allocating it to the most highest, not the interest rate, but the highest interest cost. But look at this, and I have a client who couldn't make it tonight. He happens to be in Charleston on business, and he was bummed out that he couldn't attend. We've been working on this for a while, but he's on his 3rd condo, and this is what he's following. And in less than 8 years, he should own 4 condos and have them all paid off, including a new house. But look at this possibility. Now, I know some of you would say, who wants to manage real estate? Well, that's why we have realty management companies on Hilton Head, because this is prevalent. You can get a 2-bedroom condo for about $145,000 and get $2,000 a month rent. Now, you can't do that in many places. Our demand for rental is huge. Okay, so this is the concept. How could you possibly understand which one to pay, how much to pay, what amount to use, et cetera, and when to send it in, the software does that. Okay, so let's just, at the end of 10 years, basically that 2,100, that same client we had earlier that you saw that amortization, and he still owes the bank 169,000. Yet in the 10th year, okay, he only has 41,000 left to pay. Okay, that's a big chunk of money the bank does not get. The crazy thing about amortization is you can eliminate future interest. And nobody taught me that when I got my mortgage license. And I still didn't understand it back then. I mean, I do now. But so when you send in extra principal, your payment doesn't change, but the money you owed that bank is reduced in multiples of 5 to 10 times. So it's really amazing that after 30 years, this client with this debt has actually paid the bank back $463,000 to buy a home that was 300. So, and that doesn't count the 60,000 they put down. So in summary, okay, if you could pay off the loan in less than 10 years or 12 years, it wouldn't matter. But in this case, it was 12.1 years. They basically, at 1%, would have 587 grand saved at the end of the 30 years, plus the value of the home. Now, if it's a residence, and I keep browbeating most of my clients and friends and people I meet, the home is one of your best selections for retirement, because your cost basis grows tax-free up to $500,000 if you're married and $250,000 if you are single. So think about that. Everybody pitches 401k, 403b for teachers and IRAs and all that. But then when you go to touch the money, you can't touch the money. Okay? And number two, when you go to take the money, you pay the tax. And I'm not going to get into politics. I'm not a politician. Most of you know I'm not. But my point is, what happens, we really don't understand that the true value is not the 401k and the IRA. It's right in our residence. If you know anyone that's renting a home, and it's a young couple, I have two of them I'm working with right now. I'm also working with a single individual who graduated Oklahoma State, and he was faced with a lot of student loans. Make a long story short, he's living with two other people, 3 in a 2-bedroom. It's kind of tight quarters, and he doesn't think he'll ever get a condo or a house. And I proved to him in just 3 sessions with the software that within 3 years he will own the condo that he is now renting, and he can rent it out to them. So don't forget that your home is a tax-free investment if you accelerate it with just $100 a month, and you have a tax-free when you go to sell it. That's quite a difference than a taxable IRA. So this is just a summary of what we just went over. 300,000 with 20% down. Question: why do people put 20% down? Because the banks say, well, you know, if you put 20% down and get you a better rate, obviously they have less risk. You have less. They have less risk more than you do. So the point I'm making is, I have a lender right now, 2 of them, that have said to me, our new programs with 10% down. This is for a residence, not an investment property. Okay, you can basically finance 90% and keep your other 10%, whether it's invested or whatever. So the point is these analyses or these hypotheticals, how do you actually do this on your own? It doesn't take a calculator. It'll never work with a calculator. It doesn't work with a snowball. It can only work with an interactive advanced software. And I've got someone on the line there that I'd like to bring on right now. If you can ask Jane to come on, Jeff, if you could unmute her.
I'm unmuted. Hey, Sam.
One thing before
Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hey, before you guys jump into there, one thing you're not mentioning a little bit here is, you know, you kind of keep referring to the software, but you yourself are integral in that software, as it were.
Because me on my own, if I had this so-called software, I couldn't totally do that all by myself. Not effectively and efficiently over time.
Okay. Well, that's an excellent point, because that's why I created the course. When I used to sell the software, and I didn't own it, but I sold it, and I did really well. Okay. The company has a tech team that gets it set up. I don't set it up. But once it's set up, how you use the integration of the software is beyond your imagination, and the tech people don't teach that. The interaction of what I'm able to provide in the course is exactly that. And the reason I asked Jane to pop on is because Jane owned this before, and we went through a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, we talked about the different variables that you can use that she was unaware of. But Jane, could you give us a little input of, since you've been talking to me, and how many things changed for you, even though you had the software?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't have the full knowledge of all the power that software could do until I really started to talk to you more in depth. And then we could look a little bit deeper at some of the things that I could access. And one of them was my husband's older than I am, so we've saved together for our retirement. And we had one small IRA that we kind of were looking at and saying, hey, if it won't bump into the major amount of our savings for retirement, but if we took this little bit out, what could that do to accelerate this program? And it was absolutely profound. So I'm even further ahead than I thought I would be. And plus we also were able to do a bunch of home improvements. And it's just, when you really get to see like strategically what your money can do, scenario A to scenario B, it really puts you in the driver's seat and lets you know how powerful your choices are.
Okay, excellent. And I just want to make a clarification. Interestingly, Jane and her husband saved with a Roth IRA. And
Roth IRA,
that's very unusual. Yeah, that's okay. The Roth IRA has different advantages than a regular traditional IRA. And yet a lot of people say, why would you do that? Because you don't deduct it, and you're going to pay tax and then put the money away. Well, there's a big difference. If you own it for 5 years, you can take the money out tax-free. And in fact, Jane had some problems with the company. That's right, Jane? They said you couldn't do it.
It was crazy. We kept going back and forth with TIA Craft, saying, how much is it going to be? And they kept saying that we would have to pay these penalties. And you kept insisting that that was not true. And finally, after the third person we talked to, they agreed that that was the case. And, if I didn't have somebody to really back me up, I would have just believed them. I would have said, okay, I must pay this penalty or whatever, or this interest on it. And that was not the case. So I was very lucky to have you in my corner there.
Well, that's it. I love being in a corner. I'm too old to fight, but in the corner, I can take care of a lot of the cuts and bruises. I can fix them right away. We get back in the ring.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. So let's just move along real quickly, and then we can take some questions if we have them. But this top 10 myths that I've been working on for over a year and putting together, whether it's a book or an e-guide, I believe it's going to be an e-guide. There are really myths and strategies that we think about. We've been conditioned to think that they're true, and they're not. This week was interesting. I was on 2 corporate or company presentations for 2 life companies. And the things that they said to the agents, I really cringed. It was so sad because they only show the one side. And that's what brought me to create the top 10 myths. And we're going to go over a bunch of these, not today, not tonight, but as we grow and work with health, wealth, and freedom, we're going to talk about each of these. However, in depth, each of these categories or topics are talked about in the e-guide, and it talks about the problem, and then it gives you a solution. And it's not about the software. It's pretty interesting. The software is an integrated part of how you see the future of where your money's going and the cost of money and what we call lost opportunity. But anyway, so I wanted to bring that up, and we will be giving this e-guide to our existing clients who are on the software. And we will be a small fee, for purchasing it for anybody across the country. And we're targeting December to have it done, so it's a great Christmas holiday gift. Okay, so real quick, let me move forward. How do we accept household debt and keep paying interest for the rest of our lives? I mean, I talk to people at 75, they still got $280,000 on the mortgage. It's beyond your imagination, because no one ever talked about that we should try to get rid of our debt, unless you're, of course, the TV personalities, Susie and Dave, okay? But they're multimillionaires. It's not middle America. But look at this. If you go to usdebtclock.org, this is just pulled off last week, and the numbers calculate every second. But and again, I got to ask Jeff, is this billions or trillions?
It's definitely a bunch of numbers out. I'm looking at it, but it's just a bunch of numbers that I can see. It looks like it's 2 phone numbers put together, maybe.
That's a good point. So it's actually billions with a B, and it's just beyond your imagination. And yet, I read an article in a local paper, a local magazine in the September issue here, and he talked about how we're really in trouble because our national debt is in excess of $20 trillion, and what are we going to do? And it's like, well, why don't you look at your own debt? Maybe if you had no mortgage and controlled debt and you were sitting on it, you could take a mortgage back. I've got one client right now in St. Louis that's in consideration of doing that. And I ran the numbers for him using this software, and he goes, I just can't believe this. I probably better off take 20% down and give them the mortgage, because then you become the bank. So it's pretty interesting. But credit cards, they just keep, everybody uses them. It's sort of a way of life today, which is okay, except you're out of control at 24%. Getting them in the mail, I'm sure you have. So real quick, we've got a problem, and how do you find a solution? And we're working against all odds. We've got TV, newspaper ads, getting mail. We have our CPAs, we have our financial planners, everyone is talking about put money away. Well, this is a statistic, and it's pretty interesting that most of our money, this is actually a MetLife insurance company survey, and they found that the average person has 3% going to savings, 34% interest, 23% is going to their lifestyle. Hey, let's get a new car. We just paid it off. We might as well get another one. And then taxes. Now that includes, state, federal, and any kind of tax that you can imagine is really that high, even though you might be in a 22% bracket. All taxes combined is about that. So everything we do is about time, money, and math, and the cost to buy it. Cash is almost obsolete. In fact, borrowing is more of a habit as a lifestyle. In fact, I have clients that tell me I have a 0% interest rate on my card. So, I've got $12,000. I'm not paying any interest. Well, it has to be paid by the time the 12 months or 18 months is up. If you don't pay it fully off, it reverts back at the 18%, and you still owe it plus the interest. And so people jump on these things and take trips on points by using the card at 0%, but it's not the right thing to do. So basically, one thing that I find interesting, working with the Health, Wealth, and Freedom Organization, a lot of doctors on a Wednesday night, I found out that there are a number of doctors that they call are looking for cash payments because the red tape and the paperwork they go through, okay, it takes them months to get paid. And so imagine going to your doctor and say, well, this is going to run you $1,500, but I'll take 40% off if you can write me a check. And, you know, people say, well, why would I do that? Well, your deductible's paying for it anyway. So it's interesting. There's a lot of health programs that I'm learning in a similar fashion that I've taught people on the debt side that are just unbelievable. And cash payments is something, or cash patients. Jeff, you want to just make a note on that for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too. It just goes to show you how ripped off we've been getting, because we have a program with MRI. It's a national chain. And if you pay cash, they'll give you 70%, 70% discount on their price.
That's unbelievable.
So that'll show you how much they've been jacking the price up because insurance is paying for it. You don't think you are. You know, you're paying a monthly premium, or you got your little copay. I mean, with these doctors, like you're describing, you know, they'll complain because they'll bill $300 to insurance. It'll take months and months and months, and in the end, they get $70. So they're like, why not just bill the client like $90? I'm ahead as the doc. I'm paid immediately, and the clients just saved a bundle of cash. So you're right. It frees it. There's a ways to free up money a lot of people don't even realize. And that's a big area today where that's a great area to try to to uncover hidden cash.
Yep. And then they could apply that difference even to the debt. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. That's what you should do.
My best client right now, when I say best from the numbers, is down to 6.1 years. And it's 3 years they own the program, and they had 22 years left on the mortgage. So it's really remarkable that if you focus on helping yourself and finding the tools that are available, which is the hardest thing to do. So let's move on, because we don't want to keep everybody. So biggest question I have, and which actually became the title of my e-guide, what if your money could talk? Would you listen? And it's an interesting thing, because those of you using this software is exactly what it's doing for you. Your money is talking to you. It's saying, transfer $82 from your savings account and apply it to these 2 credit cards this month. And then you go, what is that going to do for me? I owe $300,000. But if you look at the dashboard, it's telling you what it's doing. And you're down, in this case, the person's down to 6.2 years and saved so far $38,000 of interest in less than 3 years. I mean, it's hard to even imagine. So that's why we say, get your own analysis. It's free. And then learn how to maybe use the software for 90 days. And at the end of 90 days, if you decide you learned a lot, it was a great course, you don't have any obligation. So anyway, making good financial decisions for the rest of your life belongs in the health, the wealth, and the freedom to make a choice. And that's the case. So we do, as all of you know on the call that have the program, the analysis is free, but the value, the knowledge is beyond that. So just quickly, this is as of yesterday, the total debt of the software company. As you know, Debt Network Academy is a licensee. We don't recruit agents, and we don't recruit our clients. We are using a software just like you use Microsoft as a licensee. And so they have, and it's unbelievable that this number tracks every day, and it's just growing leaps and bounds. And eliminating debt is a key element. And on the right side, you basically see a simple form to fill out with no social security number, et cetera. So with that, let's open it up. If there are any questions, of course, I don't think Jane has any question, because I helped answer her those. But anybody else who might have a question?
I'm going to see if anybody does, but I have one kind of a question, comment. have you noticed, because as I indicated, and you were saying too, is, that really you're going to get that person down to that 6.3 years as an example without them having to make a lot of lifestyle changes. They didn't suddenly get a big raise at work or anything. So, they're working off kind of a static world. But have you noticed that now that they have the ability to see more closely what's happening and what they do with their money, that they are making some lifestyle changes, maybe eating out a little less, or just figuring out ways where they can leverage even another couple dollars a week towards those debts?
Right.
Have you seen that?
Yeah. You mean, have I seen them do that?
Yeah. Have you seen consumers make changes? Now that this software exposes to them, hey, eating at Starbucks I take out coffee every day is killing me here. I didn't realize how much, if I stop spending that, my dashboard changes by, this amount.
Okay, that's interesting. That is the Dave Snowball concept. In other words, if you add up, $6 a day for coffee times 5 days going to work is 30 times 4 is 120 a month. That's true. As little as $25, this may be an answer. This software makes a significant change with as little as $25 discretion.
That's pretty good. So in that instance, that would make sense, because if I can free up another $25 just by making coffee to go at home and Starbucks, I'm just going to affect my outcomes of that much more effectively. There's something I'm going to give up going out to dinner because I like to do that, but there's some frivolous way I'm squandering a little money. I never saw that before, because I know from the software I can say, well, what if $6? That doesn't sound like much, but then you go into the software and make that change. And then you suddenly go, holy smokes, look at that saves like 9 months, or that kind of thing where you can really see.
Right.
And then you may go, what? That's not worth it. I'm going to keep going to Starbucks. Or you go, that's so dramatic. I'm going to cut back and I'm going to go there every other day, or whatever they sort of change themselves. So that's cool.
No, that's an excellent point. So that's $25 is the minimum that makes a difference.
Right.
100, as you saw, just $100 was unbelievable.
Huge.
Okay, go ahead.
Jane, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to that because I'm definitely living that. And it's not that, I don't feel as though my lifestyle has really changed at all, but I can see places that I can cut some expenses, such as my cable. I got rid of my cable. I just have the internet, and now I use, instead of paying like the $175 I was paying, I have one of those. It's not Apple TV, but it's something similar to that, which is $50 a month, and I still see everything I want to see. So it does make you feel a little bit more competitive about the things that you can see that will help move that dial and that dashboard faster. And I'm always looking at it and getting excited every time I have a little bit of extra money to throw at it. I can see just how much it brings down my total debt all the time. And before, it just felt as though my money went into this vast void, and it really never seemed to make a dent into anything. And now I can see it, every single month, that debt going down, and that much closer to freedom.
And well, you're actually seeing it every time you make a change. In other words, at the end of the week, if you say I paid the bill, it says, it tells you which bill to pay and how much to pay. And when you do that, the dashboard changes immediately. So it's not just month to month. I know some people don't use it as often as they should because life gets in the way. But the more you get accustomed to, as you have, Jane, and in fact, I hate to call somebody on the spot, but we have worked together for over a year, and her whole entire cash flow has changed tremendously to her advantage instead of other people's advantage. And that's Ellen. Ellen, are you still on here? I'm not looking at who's on here.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, Ellen. Okay, yes. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Trying to get the tiger by the tail, but I guess what I'd like to share is that when we first met, I actually recently looked at my worksheet, and just amazing. I actually I paid off my car. I paid off one personal SBA and a business SBA that I had due to some unfortunate water damage. My son was able to pay off his student loans, and I paid off my home equity loan. What else did I do? I invested in a fund and now have income on a monthly basis. And I also accessed the cash value that I had in a policy that I really could put to use for myself, and probably going to have that policy either reissued or eliminated, one or the other. I just have to say, I would never, I'd probably been paying minimums for the rest of my life because I had no idea. And I just really grateful for the program.
Ellen, let me ask you a question. This is Jeff. Up till this point, had you used accountants or other people ideally that were supposed to be giving you some financial advice and some?
That's a good question. That's a great question, right, Ellen?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I think that those professionals are basically trained to do very linear, repetitive work.
Right.
They don't really think too far, and they certainly don't really understand the cost of money.
Or how money's created. You know, it's like when you were talking before about those mortgages, Sam, you know, you're trained to sell mortgages and explain rates. You don't understand how the mortgage is made.
Mm-hmm.
You're not,
right.
You don't sit there in the actuarial department. They train you on how they create this thing. And the same, I've been in insurance and stuff myself for years. You're trained by the company and you're very knowledgeable about what it is that you know, but you don't understand the full scope. And for me, what I think is what my epiphany was, that I knew a lot about all of the rubber hitting the road stuff about how life insurance worked or this or that or whatever, but I never understood how the money part worked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Right. You know, so that was kind of became my little joke. I would tell people as part of me getting someone to be engaged with the software is, you know, you've now found me. You had so-and-so before me and so-and-so before them. And it's almost like you found a new captain for your boat. You know, that guy didn't run your software, you know, your account too well. You didn't make a lot of money. Then you had what's her face over at wherever, and it wasn't so great either. Now I found Jeff. Boy, hopefully he's going to make me like another 0.5%. We'll finally get rich, honey. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm a great captain. I'm better than all those others. Absolutely, I know I am. And then what do? I look around, and what's going on in the back of the boat? It's you and your husband drilling holes in the floor. I said, that's when I had the epiphany, because without that software, it didn't matter what you did, what captain you got, what you invested in, nothing would matter if you were forever drilling holes in your boat.
Yeah, and interestingly, in the first 90 days of the course, Ellen, if you're still on there, in the first 90 days, I think we accomplished more than any of my other clients, because she was focused on, what am I doing wrong? I've got all this cash flow, but where's it going, and what's it costing me, and why am I doing this? And it's just a lot of fun teaching and training the facts. The decisions belong to everybody else, not me. I don't make a decision, but I can help you see all the facts so you can make a decision. So, but isn't that true that we did so much in 90 days? It was unbelievable.
Absolutely. Not to speak of your perspective, you know, on greater issues that really have to do, you know, with making decisions and making changes.
Seeing those what ifs, what ifs and the alternatives. Because you never think of an alternative. You're just like trying to do the same thing I've been doing, but a little cheaper. Well, I got to get a mortgage just like I've got. I got to find one like 0.5 point less. You see, you never break out of doing the same stupid stuff over and over again, even though you think you are. It's not like it's your fault. That's all you know to pick from. So that's why this is great too. And that's the advantage of you having spent all those years learning these things, Sam, that we get to pick your brain instead of us having to stumble along for decades until we maybe hopefully wake up and figure it out.
Well, I'm so passionate about this top 10 financial myths. This is really an educational format guide that you just go to when if you're experiencing something. So let's just move on. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Joan, Jonathan, for getting on for our first, and we hope to grow this. Wednesday night, we have anywhere from 15 to 20 some odd people on about the health. I welcome all of you as guests. I will send you links for Wednesday night. If you can make your way through the the website, Jeff's going to explain where everything is and how you can check out the videos that are recorded, as this is, where you can listen to some of these doctors about COVID-19 and the things I learned in the last 12 weeks. I make a point Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. This is where I am. My wife will tell you that while she's watching her show. I got my door closed and I'm listening to medical doctors, and I never thought I'd ever do that.
Well, here
Go
you
ahead,
go.
Jeff.
Let me give you a quick little tour for where we're at here, just to keep everybody up to speed. So this will be the page you'll come to. We'll have a little link in this video. Everyone that's registered, you'll want to come back here to come take a look, but you'll automatically get notifications of the next week's webinar if you did that online registration. And then meanwhile, they're archived, so we're just going to start posting them for this, but this is an example, the one that we do at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays Eastern. This is about doctors and cash patients that Sam was referring to, and you'll notice there's a wealth of people that have been participants in this. It goes back for a long time, years of videos, and frankly, the stuff is cogent. If it's a 1 week old video or a 1 year old one, the information is extremely vital. So you'll find that to be quite good. This is an example of the one that's the 4 o'clock one, also equally powerful. A lot of very interesting guests. This is more general purpose about freedom in a variety of ways: economic, political, what's going on in business, all the rest of that type of stuff. It's very interesting, absolutely. Here's one that's about what the perils of 5G, which is forthcoming. We're trying to figure out how to prevent having some negative outcome from that. Here's Dr. Singer. He just testified in Washington not even 2 days ago. They did a big symposium there. So there's some fantastic stuff that you'll want to come back and explore. But with Sam, we're going to be able to have the information. It's going to be posted. You'll see the future episodes. There'll be the list of all the various locations. We're going to have the video will be repeated in 4 places, posted on the weekends, available by Monday on BitChute, Brighteon on YouTube, and now Rumble, which is a new competitor to YouTube. So there's an awful lot of stuff you'll find in here too. And then again, we want to have as many people come and visit here, and we're going to expose them. Some people are coming here because they're learning about the revolution in health and paying cash for that. But then lo and behold, they want to find out about how they can fix their wealth and their money. And so they're going to find out about what Sam's in here and what he's up to with all of us together. So we appreciate everyone being here tonight, and Sam, especially the time that you took to put this together.
Well, thank you.